I'm a huge monogamist at heart. I want undying commitment from the person that I am dating and that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I give that to them and I expect that in return. And I think our society's playing with that boundary is ultimately leading to a complete breakdown of healthy relationships. It's why you're seeing the vast majority of Gen Z unhappy in their relationships. It's why we have the lowest marriage rate since America began recording marriage rates in the 1860s, and we have the highest divorce rate as well. So we're unhappy when we're dating. We're not getting married. If we do get married, we end up getting divorced. And as a result, Pew Research has found that our generation is just taking ourselves off the market entirely. We decided it's not even worth it. So I think that's a huge component.
Are you talking about that recently released data from Pew? I mean, there's a whole bunch of data points, but the big one that I took from it was, I think it was comparing men and women between the ages of 18 to 29, and they found that women between the ages of 18 to 29 were twice as likely to be in relationships than men in that same age group.
But interesting study. So the first one that I referenced, the majority of Gen Zers, if you are in a relationship, you are unhappy. I think the figure from Pew, if I'm remembering correctly, and obviously I don't have it right in front of me, was about 73% of us who are dating are unhappy, really unhappy in our relationships. Those of us who aren't dating are intentionally not putting ourselves on the dating market for either casual or committed relationships. But the study that you're referencing was fascinating. That came out a few weeks ago. That women our age are more likely to be in relationships than men, which makes you think, who is everybody dating at the end of the day? If the women aren't dating the men, then how did that statistic end up coming to fruition?
What crosses my mind is I think there's perhaps two explanations. One, women in that age group are dating older men, 30 to 40. But I think the bigger thing is that women are maybe think they're in a relationship or are in a relationship and they're sharing higher quality guys. So, and there's this concept called hypergamy. Women are all chasing after the top tier of men. So a lot of women are happier sharing a top tier guy than settling for a guy that's actually on their level.
So,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree with you. I think I made like a TikTok the other day that was like, get yourself an average man, ladies, or something like that. Because like, the majority of your audience, I would say, is average males, right?
There's some chads.
Well, yeah, some chads for sure. But it's it's like what, less than 5% of men are making like $100,000 a year in America or something like that. Like it's really low. So
most people are average.
Yeah, just average. Like, so I think we need to normalize the fact that like, if you get in a relationship, he doesn't have to be making the same or more money than you, right? Because that's true equality and like equity or whatever, however you want to phrase it. It's about what you give to the relationship. And so whether that means that you're a stay-at-home mom and he's out there working full-time or vice versa, it's about like everybody doing their part, whether you're man or woman, whatever role you want to play. So.
Yeah, but here's the problem is that you basically, what you have going on in the dating marketplace is average women don't want average guys.
I'm encouraging them to. That's what my podcast is about.
Call me crazy. Why wouldn't average women just decide to stop being average ourselves and raise the standards for what we expect from the men that we're dating?
Sorry, explain that one more
time. Rather than settling for an average guy, why wouldn't we just demand more from the men that we're dating?
Because it's very hard for some people to take.
Men respond extremely well to boundaries. They do psychologically. If you set a boundary for a man, either intentionally or unintentionally, he will honor that boundary. For example, if you let him continue getting away with cheating on you and being half in, half out of a relationship, being a situationship for months upon months upon months without ever committing to you or wanting to put a label on things, that's a boundary that you've set, saying it's acceptable for me to be treated that way. Why wouldn't we as women, actual feminism, I suppose, to be theoretical about this, demand more from the men that we're spending our lives with?
I agree. And I think, like, here's where the problem lies, right? Men end up leaving because that girl that's demanding respect and demanding boundaries, now she becomes high maintenance to them. This is, again, I'm speaking anecdotally, but I've heard this from men before. Now she becomes high maintenance, so they're leaving and they're going to find somebody that just says yes all the time.
So what if we all did it? I hear all the time, all men want are sex. All men want is sex. All men want is sexual partners. What if we as women just said, we're not okay with that anymore?
Holla system.
We want more. Wouldn't that force men to rise to that occasion. And similarly, men who might be listening to this, you should be going after women who expect those boundaries, because a rising tide lifts all ships, and that's going to improve.
Well, the genie's out of the bottle. I mean, I think we can say in an ideal world, wouldn't it be fantastic if we did away with hookup culture? And I think that is desirable, but I don't think, I think the culture war has honestly been lost to decadence and degeneracy. So
there's no hope.
I mean,
We've lost.
I think the culture war has been lost because you have academia, you have journalism, you have the mainstream media, which is all basically very, and without really going so much into politics, it's very left-leaning. Mm-hmm. Every single university in the country has a feminist studies, a gender studies, a women's studies program. I mean, now this is getting into men's rights. There's no equivalent men's studies or men's rights things in education. We're 2 blocks away from UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara. It's frequently ranked the #1 party school in the U.S. Major hookup culture here, and I would say across most universities and colleges, there is a major hookup culture. And then beyond college, there's a major hookup culture where it's just casual sex, situationships, all this stuff. I really think it's going to be a challenge to walk that back. I don't see
how about instead of walking it back, we as a generation and as a society acknowledge we are at the end of our rope, that we've never struggled more as a society from a cultural perspective than we are right now. Despite living in arguably the most progressive and advanced society ever, we're miserable. So much so that a third of us as women in our teenage years, and a significantly higher portion of men in their young adult years, say we don't even want to be here at all. So maybe rather than walking back, we choose a new path forward.
Well, but and you consider yourself pretty conservative, right?